Hello, and welcome back. As always, for private readings, feel free to reach out to me, annikatero@gmail.com. I do private readings on a gift exchange basis, and I ask that you give comfortably, generously, whatever that looks like for you. Now let us begin. This message is for anyone that is struggling. This is a channeled message, and it may include some elements that resonate with you, and it may have pieces that don't. Feel free to leave the parts that don't for somebody else, because it may be their story. Now let's tuck in. Feel free to close your eyes, to block out the world, and let us go into the center of our existence, the very essence of who we are, consciousness. And let us think about the concept of struggle. What is struggle? Struggle is resistance to change. A struggle is wanting to hold on to an old paradigm that is outdated. In fact, if we center our awareness on our third eye or our pineal gland, and we pull ourselves out of our bodies just for a moment and collect that energy on top of our heads, losing temporarily sensation of what it means to be mortal. And from this perspective and this angle, we look at the concept of struggle. Take a moment to reflect. For me, in this moment, because I am included in this group, struggle is my resistance to seeing people as who they really are, as who they show themselves to be. And for whatever reason, it's so crazy. I don't know, maybe you can relate. I draw people to me lately to show me who I'm not. In order to practice boundaries, in order to practice self-love, not forgiveness. And this is what makes me different. Because I used to believe in everlasting forgiveness until I kept inviting Judas into my bed, and then wondering why my life would be in ruins. It's a metaphor, of course. Yes, we should have compassion and forgiveness and understanding. I'm not saying that we should go and burn everybody to the stake. No. But we should do it from afar. Because the closer that we invite people into our lives, and the more unhealed that person is, the more we suffer. Why is that? If we are supposed to love and forgive everybody in equal measure, is it because we see the best in them? Is it because we believe in them? Is it because We are taught that love conquers all. Who came up with that slogan, by the way? And did they ever have a neo-Nazi sleeping in their bed? Because I have. You see, when we don't have discrimination, we allow people close to us that sometimes do not have our best interest at heart. And this is the reality. This is a worldly existence. This is a platform for learning, for growing, and your healing journey should never be subjugated to somebody else's demands, ridicule, embarrassment, or abuse. I think there's something wrong with humans. This is my mind talking and something I've been trying to grapple with. I think there's something broken in a large number of people's psychology. For reasons that I won't go into here because it's not the right place. And I think it can be overcome, but to the expense of many. At the end of suffering is the awareness that suffering itself is an illusion. Because when we start to see people for where they're at in space and time, and we see, are they embodying their higher self, their lower self, their teenage self, whatever it is, when we can actually see with acute clarity, then that actually empowers us. Where suffering occurs is when we don't see, when we don't acknowledge, and we don't accept. And when that happens, we allow for people to stay close to us. We allow for mistreatment to occur. We feel trapped, we feel powerless, we feel bound, we feel shackled, we feel confused. All of these things, poof, go away when we accept who somebody is presenting themselves to be. And I believe, this is my mind talking now, I believe that in fact it is a projection system in our minds that projects this image on top of a person. And this is what I believe is broken. Because there are so many errors which occur with this. And I will get into this in other meditative lectures. Because I've had mystical visions about this phenomenon being completely broken. And I've seen it play out in life, and I know you have too. There is this image that we superimpose on top of other people, and the clarity for which we perceive them varies based on how blurry that image is. And yes, there are some cases where people misrepresent themselves, right? But I'm not talking about that just yet. Think about the last relationship you had. One that ended in flames. If you're already in one, then think about a past partner. When you first met them and you first considered a romantic partnership with them, you projected your desires, your dreams, your everything on them as they did to you. And then when you agreed to get into a relationship, because you're not a stalker and you're not a cave person that was like mine, took them off to the cave, right? When you both agreed to enter into a relationship contract with each other, these projections were at their height. And over time, as you started to get to know them and they started to get to know you, what happened? Well, if you're in a happily ever after, then those projections, I would argue, are pretty accurate. But if your projections were quite blurry, or if the person wore a mask, or if their unconscious patterns overtook the person that they were trying to be for you, then the relationship ended up in a ball of flames. And when did your suffering stop? Was it when they walked out the door the last time and you felt this sense of relief? Oh, they're gone. And how do you think that suffering would have changed if you accepted the reality as it was unfolding faster than what you did? And so this awareness creates an invitation to open us up to an expedient truth. Who are you in this moment? Versus who do you want to be? And what is that disparity? Now let's measure somebody in your life who you perceive to be struggling with. Who are they in this present moment versus who you would like them to be? And what degree is that disparity? I read this great Abraham Hicks quote today, and I can't remember it verbatim, and I don't have it in front of me, but it really speaks to this point, which is there are people, I'm going to paraphrase, there are people that teach you what you want. And your goal is to not force those people to turn into what you want. Your goal is actually to accept them for exactly who they are, and then to realize that what you want, what you need, A, this is my insertion, is completely okay. And B, is necessary for you to understand to create the life of your dreams. And so the ultimate goal is to thank those people for showing you what you want and what you don't want. To let them be. And then with that new vibration of understanding, this is my interpretation, with that new vibration to attract what you want now that you have that increased clarity. It's really that simple. When we stop changing people, we start accepting them for who they are. And that enables us to decide quicker on what to do. Do we bring them closer? Do we push them out of our orbit? And by having that understanding and that clarity, we are able to take this idea of suffering and completely eliminate it, at least within this context, because there are other modalities of suffering, but that's out of the scope for this particular recording. And through that process of awareness, you find an empowerment that was missing. You find an empowerment that was missing.